from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Thanks for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starnes. You know, another COVID-19 vaccine could soon be on its way to Indiana.
Federal authorities are closer to approving another company's vaccine, and more central Indiana healthcare workers are stepping up to get protected from the virus. Also happening tonight, many families are making plans for several more weeks of e-learning. So an organization is working to make sure students get the individual attention they need.
But first tonight, a sobering reminder of how Indiana is doing in the fight against the coronavirus. Despite hope and optimism we've seen thanks to the arrival of a vaccine, the virus is still spreading here at the fourth fastest rate in the country. That's according to the weekly update from the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Out of 100,000 residents, Indiana has been seeing about 666 new COVID-19 cases. The national average is 451 cases. The task force says Indiana's hospitalizations went down slightly last week, as you can see in this chart from the Department of Health, but the numbers are still extremely high and hospitals are struggling to keep up. The report says COVID-19 mitigation efforts in Indiana must increase.
Right now, we're waiting on an announcement from the FDA about a second COVID-19 vaccine. Moderna's vaccine was recommended for an emergency use authorization by a committee today. The FDA, then the CDC, need to also give it the go-ahead before it starts shipping to hospitals across the country. The CDC's decision could come on Saturday. On Sunday, a group is discussing which groups should be next after frontline workers and nursing home residents to get vaccinated.
This virus is so scary. We can have patients that will be talking to us, totally doing fine, and within an hour we're putting a breathing tube in them.
That's why so many frontline healthcare workers are not hesitating to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Today, Ascension St. Vincent Hospital completed its first round of vaccinations with Pfizer's vaccine. We spoke with a respiratory therapist who is encouraging everyone to get the vaccine when it's available.
We have very, very smart people, very educated people that's been working around the clock on this vaccine. I say I would be more scared of what COVID is doing to people than what this vaccine.
Ascension plans to vaccinate 792 more employees tomorrow. Community Health Network has received its first vaccine shipment. Frontline workers will start getting vaccinated tomorrow at Community Hospital North in Indianapolis and Community Hospital in Anderson. Today, Community's vaccine team did a trial run with 14 workers.
Several groups are asking Governor Holcomb to make sure COVID-19 vaccine are distributed equally when it comes to who is most likely to suffer from COVID-19. Community organizations joined the American Civil Liberties Union to sign a letter to Governor Holcomb. The ACLU says people in prison, those in group living situations, and minority communities are being disproportionately impacted by the coronavirus. That's something the Indianapolis Urban League wants officials to consider when making plans for vaccine distribution.
Every day we get to see the impacts of the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. The families and the community that we serve that struggled well before the pandemic, but the disparities have worsened.
Right now, under Indiana's plan, vulnerable populations are next in line for vaccines after frontline workers. But who qualifies as vulnerable has not been announced.
With months to go before the vaccine is available to the general public, there are a lot of questions surrounding the process and the vaccines themselves. We took some of those questions to an assistant professor of public health and an infectious disease specialist. They say researchers are still trying to figure out some of the long-term impacts of the vaccine, like whether it will provide lasting immunity.
I think that's a question that is a magic ball question. We don't know. We have seen that there's at least two different strains of COVID that are out there, that it has mutated. Is it something that will continue to mutate?
Now that a second company is about to receive approval for its vaccine, we asked our experts if there's a difference.
Should I prefer one manufacturer's vaccine over the other? I think I can tell you that they all went through the same vetting process, right?
There are more differences in how they're stored and what temperatures they're stored at, but from a medical perspective, they are very, very similar.
At this time, the vaccine is not approved for people younger than 16 years old. Researchers have only been monitoring clinical trials for a few months, so it's still unclear about any long-term effects.
Temperatures quite cold tomorrow morning. I wouldn't be surprised western Indiana, some spots slip into the upper teens. If you've been out this evening, it's a vision test, but you've seen some flurries around central Indiana. Those are fading. Lower 20s for most of us as skies begin to break up, and we'll call it partly cloudy. The blues on the radar represent where some of the flurries still exist over toward Richmond and eastern portions of the state, and those are leaving. 29 in Zionsville, 28 in Martinsville. Temperatures below freezing everywhere. In western Indiana, where skies are clearing now, temperatures will fall a little more quickly, but that's where we'll land. Lower 20s tomorrow morning. Wind will push nearly 50 degrees for the high, and a look at what I think happens Christmas coming up.
Winter break is also coming up, but when many Central Indiana students return to learning next year, they will still be attending class virtually. WRTV's Karen Riddle shows you how a program is giving Indianapolis students the engagement and one-on-one attention they might be missing during this unique school year.
E-learning has been a bit difficult, keeping the schedule, keeping the focus, keeping the motivation.
8th grader Cameron Covington will tell you himself he's no fan of sitting in front of a computer to go to school.
A person's on the screen, you don't actually meet them in person, and it's boring.
Cameron's mom, Kim, says the lack of one-on-one interaction with someone in front of a classroom was keeping Cameron from succeeding with his writing assignments.
We do what we can at home. We have Cameron read to us, write journals during this time, but we still saw that his writing needed a little bit of help. So we contacted CLD.
The Center for Leadership and Development and their one-on-one virtual tutoring was the answer to the Covington family's needs, with Cameron's writing quickly improving. CLD President Dennis Bland says the sigh of relief from families is the very reason why they are offering tutoring on both nights and weekends free of charge.
So we want to proactively reach out and make sure that students and parents understand not just that these resources are available, but they understand the transformation that can occur when students and families have access to these types of services coming from professionals.
Kim believes the one-on-one attention from a professional is what made all the difference.
I'm not a great writer, so having an expert here to coach him, that has been very helpful.
Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
To learn more about CLD and their professional tutors, you can visit their website, cldinc.org. We also have a link in this story on the WRTV app.
The superintendent of Indianapolis Public Schools says the district is in no rush to return to in-person classes after Christmas break. The Marion County Health Department says it's okay to have classes in school on January 4th. Alicia Johnson says the earliest students will be back in the classroom, if at all, is January 19th.
We still want to do our due diligence to be sure that when we return to school, we're doing so under safer conditions. So I don't anticipate a return before the 19th.
Johnson also says she will get a COVID-19 vaccine and encourage others to do so when it's available to educators. She shared her thoughts on stopping the spread of COVID and supporting IPS families that are struggling with our Rafael Sanchez. You can see their full interview tomorrow on Good Morning Indiana.
Still ahead, a frontline worker is getting ready for her big day with the help of a well-deserved reward.
Also, lawmakers are getting closer to a COVID relief deal. What you need to know about another round of stimulus checks for all Americans when the news at 11 continues.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Tonight, lawmakers are still hammering out a deal for a second round of pandemic relief and a spending deal, that will keep the government operating. We're still waiting to learn whether a deal will extend the federal moratorium on evictions and the exact details of another round of payments. According to reports, $600 stimulus checks could be approved. Joe St. George is a look at when you could expect that money.
After months of on-again and off-again negotiations, there is a growing optimism here on Capitol Hill. The Congress will actually pass a stimulus relief package by the end of the week. And while unemployment assistance helps those out of work the most, stimulus checks help millions of Americans pay off a COVID-related debt. So when could a stimulus check be deposited into your bank account? Well, the optimistic thinking right now is that a bill could pass and be signed by the president by Friday night. After all, at midnight Friday, the government is scheduled to shut down, so there is a deadline here. Once President Trump signs it, that starts the clock. Now, the good news is, unlike in the spring, the IRS has done this before, so they don't have to build a computer program to process the checks. They have experience. This is what Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said a few months ago about how quickly a check could theoretically be in your account.
I can have them out immediately. So if I could get that passed tomorrow, I could start printing them the following week. I can get out 50 million payments really quickly.
So the process can be done very quickly if the federal government has your bank information on file. If they don't, just like the last time, it'll take a few weeks to receive paper checks or debit cards. And it is a bit more complicated because there are federal holidays coming up. But if something is passed by the end of the week, millions of Americans could have stimulus checks in their accounts by New Year's. On Capitol Hill in Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
A young nurse is being rewarded for her hard work during the pandemic with some help getting ready for her big day. Tekoa Knight is a nurse at Ascension St. Vincent in Indianapolis. Last month, we were there when the owner of Marie Gabriel Bridal Couture surprised her with the news that she was chosen to win a free designer wedding dress. The shop received tons of nominations for its contest to reward a frontline worker. Tekoa's nomination by her future sister-in-law stood out.
She deserves it more than like anybody I know. She works so hard and she just does it and works hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and still manages to wake up the next day. She's just always personable and was always willing to help. And as soon as I saw the competition posting, I was like, yeah, I'm nominating Tekoa. It just wasn't even a second thought.
The Healthcare Heroes dress giveaway was through a partnership with Marie Gabriel in Indianapolis and one of their designers, Pronovius. Today, Tekoa got to go pick out the dress that she will walk down the aisle in next year.
Our floor, we've closed down the floor at the hospital, so now our floor is like working with different patients than we usually do. I'm usually on the oncology floor, and now we're taking a lot of overflow from the ED. So that's been a challenge. It is very boho-like, which is the theme I'm going for the wedding. I don't think anyone would really expect it.
All the brides who were nominated will also receive a special discount from Marie Gabriel for all they have done for our Indianapolis community this year. And congratulations to Tekoa and her lovely fiance. Kevin.
Exciting stuff. Well, temperatures quite cold in the morning. Then will be quite mild early in Christmas week. We got other details ahead. Just the flurries that we had this evening, those are fading away at this hour. The wind is pretty light. Temperatures next week. Let's skip the next few days and then we'll come back to them. 47 Monday. We're still in the 40s Tuesday, almost 50 next Wednesday. The warmer it feels Wednesday, though, the colder it will feel Christmas Eve and Christmas Day as a cold front will move our way. Just want to point out this would be Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Rain changing to some snow, so we may have some light accumulating snow there, and it will be followed by a cold blast. We could argue about how cold it may be, but stay tuned. Wouldn't be surprised we have some temperatures in the lower teens for lows and struggle to reach the lower 20s. That's down the road. When we talk about things that are this far out, timing becomes an issue. Could be a little earlier or a little later. Timing not the issue for tomorrow morning. We're just about there. Temperatures in the 20s move their way to 33. One big difference, we had absolute stratus cloud cover today. We should work in some sunshine tomorrow. Sunshine and winds out of the south go to work. That will help boost our temperature. The wind will increase as we go through the day into tomorrow night, gusting to 20. 40, the optimistic high temperature in Indy, 42 down in Bloomington, a little cooler to the north and east. But as I showed you, if we missed the mark, we've got many more opportunities on the way. 42 Saturday with the rain chances increasing late in the day, really Saturday evening, Saturday night. Sunday's dry. 40 degrees. As you look at Saturday's winds, they will increase as well out of the south. That will boost the temperature. It draws in a little moisture. There are your temperatures for the first half of the weekend. 7-day forecast. The coldest morning until we get to Christmas morning is tomorrow. Then we start a sustained warming trend, which takes us to that 48-degree high on Wednesday. As you can see, temperatures falling back with a little snow on Christmas Eve day and then much colder on Christmas itself. Amanda?
Kevin, thank you. Not all families are built the same, but many parents share the need for guidance through the labor process and early days of their child's life. And that's why the Riley Children's Health Labor and Delivery Team at IU Health Methodist launched the state's first birth class designed for LGBTQ families. I talked to a couple about what this program means for their community and growing families. Micah Baugh and Haley Spencer are parents to 2 boys.
Our oldest is 7, and I carried him. He's living his best life in 3rd grade. What was he, 4 when we, were thinking about having another one? So we pursued that, and she carried the little guy, and he's now 2.5. He's a wild child.
Finley, their youngest, was born at IU Health North Hospital. The parents took advantage of all the resources the hospital offered when Haley was pregnant, but they felt they were missing out on important conversations.
When you're sitting there talking about the mechanics of birthing a child, that's not something necessarily that you want to talk about, or we didn't necessarily want to talk about with some heterosexual couples. And to be fair, they may have been uncomfortable too.
The new childbirth class at IU Health will feature the same educational content as previous classes, plus time dedicated exclusively to topics of importance shared by LGBTQ families.
We wanted people to feel comfortable asking questions without fear of judgment. We felt like some of our families may not feel comfortable asking, specific, like gender specific questions or using pronouns particularly, or they just didn't want to be in a room where they maybe felt judged.
Candace King is a labor and delivery nurse at Methodist Hospital, and she teaches the new class for LGBTQ families.
It's a safe place where they can ask whatever they want and not have to worry about that. And maybe even have somebody that they can relate to, whether it's another couple that is quote unquote non-traditional, as well as myself, the instructor, just being a member of the LGBT community is a little more relatable to them.
Some topics covered in the class are breastfeeding, hormone therapy, and desired pronouns used by family members. While this class did not yet exist when Micah and Haley were going through their pregnancies, both mothers are involved in the creation of this class.
There is some sort of trauma that happens in the LGBT community in terms of healthcare and medical providers. That's just a reality. So to know that I can get on IU North or Riley or Methodist or whatever website and see LGBTQ just out there and very public, that is a big deal.
The mothers hope this class will bring validation to other LGBTQ couples on their journeys to grow their own families.
The nuances that you pass on, your little ones that connect you, and that really, the whole purpose of having kids was originally for being able to pass on things about you, and that's not done purely through blood.
The first class took place at the beginning of December and is virtual right now due to the pandemic. The class will be held quarterly. We'll be right back.
WRTV's Hiring Hoosiers explores the opportunities and positions available to all Hoosiers looking for work and the chance to start a career. And thanks to a new partnership, women incarcerated in some Indiana prisons are getting training and job experience to change the trajectory of their lives. Aventive Technologies announced a new partnership with Televerde. It's a sales and marketing organization that manages inbound customer service. Participation in this program is highly competitive. Right now, 45 female inmates serve as customer service agents in Indiana. They help field the calls between family, friends, and inmates through Televerde. For Shoshana Brent, this is her opportunity inside these walls to turn her life around for the better.
I'm incarcerated. and I'm working for a global company. And I'm learning advanced technology, the life skills that I need to be successful and to continue to have business conversations with CEOs of large companies. Like, even when I'm going to be released, they're going to make sure that I have all the skills that I need to be successful.
Televerde serves more than just families of incarcerated individuals. The company also works with Fortune 500 companies. Televerde and the facility provide these opportunities to people with a great track record inside prison.
If you or someone in your family is looking for a new job, it is important to keep applying, even as we head into the end of the year. Lindsay Boach spoke to a job recruiter who explains why you should not wait and what jobs are most likely to be open right now.
Is getting a new job on the top of your holiday wish list this year? Well, experts say December is actually one of the best times to look for a job.
We're hearing from many hiring managers that they will still be working to fill their positions over the next couple weeks.
Karen Policastro is with Robert Half, a recruiting firm. She says now is as good a time as any to put yourself out there, especially in this highly competitive job market.
And make sure that you are extremely active over the holidays, because many hiring and decision makers want to be able to have their staff filled and complete to hit the ground running come January.
And now, 9 months into the pandemic, the job fields that are hiring are a little different.
We've seen an influx in accounts payable clerks, collections clerks, HR positions. Surprisingly, we've had a lot of human resource positions come through.
She says with so many people working from home, help desk and customer service positions are also in high demand.
Companies have had to shift and be extremely flexible due to the pandemic, and these positions have definitely become more in demand.
And if you're one of the millions of service industry workers who have lost their jobs or have had their hours cut, these could potentially be great jobs.
If you've been in the restaurant industry, you definitely have customer service skills. So cater your resume and or online profile, cover letter to really highlight the customer experience that you were able to provide.
Policastro also says a lot of companies are looking to hire temporary or contract positions, especially while they are remote. So think about those options as well. For a look at local companies that are hiring right now, check out the job board at hiringhoosiers.com. We'll be back after this quick break. An Indianapolis school could not hold their annual holiday performance this year, so they moved the celebration outside to keep everyone safe. Teachers at Robert L. Frost School decorated the yard with lights, and families drove by for cookies, cocoa, and to say hello to some familiar faces.
It feels amazing. Some of them we have not seen in person all year. So since the start of school, we've not seen them because they elected to be at home. So it's really nice to be able to see them and wish them a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Families also received Christmas lights and a gift donated by community partners. Kevin.
Nice way to be creative. Some sunshine tomorrow. That's a change from what we had today. Temperatures right around 40 for the afternoon high. The wind will start to pick up a bit out of the south. Amanda?
Thanks, Kevin, and thank you for making WRTV your choice for news. Good Morning Indiana starts at 4:30. Good night.